All right, today we are diving deep into the world of contract bridge, and we're going to do it by breaking down just one single, incredibly dramatic hand. This is a story all about a really powerful bidding tool called the Stayman convention. Think of it as a secret code partners use to quickly find out if they have a great suit they can play in together. But we're going to see what happens when an opponent decides to just blow that communication line to bits, and how a split-second decision can be the difference between a huge win and a total disaster.
So, let me set the scene for you. It's the windless cottage on a rainy Saturday afternoon. You can smell the salt from the sea, you can smell the tea brewing, and at the table, we've got our players. The challenge, though, comes from a guy named Bartek. He's a theatrical, expert-level player who just lives for this kind of disruption. He utters that one line as he deals the cards, and boom, the battle is on.
Okay, so let's meet our players. You've got Timmy, he's the quiet strategist, and he's partnered with the ever-confident Andrew. And on the other side of the table, there's Bartek, our resident pot stirrer, and the calm but very sharp Marjorie. You've got four very different players, four very interesting hands of cards, and they are all about to collide.
Now, just look at how these cards were dealt. It's like it was scripted for maximum drama. Andrew, sitting south, he's got this beautiful, strong, balanced hand with 16 points. It's a textbook opening bid. And his partner, Timmy? Well, Timmy's holding the absolute perfect response. He's got good points, and, this is the key, he has 4 cards in both spades and hearts, the major suits. This is the exact reason the Stayman convention was invented. But then you look at Bartek's hand. That ridiculously long and strong club suit, that's not just a suit, it's a weapon, and he's about to use it.
So you can see it, right? The potential for a fantastic contract is just sitting there waiting for Andrew and Timmy to find it. But Bartek, he is just waiting in the wings to throw a giant wrench in the works. The bidding is about to get very, very interesting.
And here we go. Andrew kicks things off with a standard no-trump bid. It's a perfect description of his hand, strong and balanced. And then, without even a pause, Bartek pounces with a 2 clubs bid. Now, this is so important to understand. This bid does not mean he just loves clubs. It's a conventional bid, a coded attack. He is using this specific bid to jam the communication lines between Andrew and Timmy before they can even say hello.
And just like that, all the pressure in the world lands squarely on Timmy's shoulders. His beautiful, simple plan to use Stayman and find their fit, it's just been blown to smithereens. He's holding a great hand, but the road he was planning to take is now completely blocked. So, what on earth can he do now?
Okay, so before we see what Timmy actually does, let's hit pause on the story. It's crucial to know that he's not helpless here. You see, bridge isn't just about the cards in your hand. It's about the system, the agreements you built with your partner. And a good system doesn't just shatter when an opponent gets in the way. It adapts. It has workarounds.
You know this feeling, right? It's so frustrating. You're all set to use Stayman, find that beautiful major suit fit, and then an opponent's bid just throws a wrench in the works. Suddenly, the simple path is gone. How you and your partner navigate this exact moment, well, that's what separates a good pair from a truly great one.
So, here's our game plan. First, we'll do a quick refresher on what Stayman is all about. Then, we'll dive into the 2 main ways opponents mess with us, before you even get to bid and right after you do. We'll look at the common traps people fall into, and we'll wrap up with the most important part: how to build an unbreakable agreement with your partner so you're always on the same page.
Right, before we figure out how to defend our bids, let's be crystal clear on what we're actually trying to do. Stayman is, without a doubt, your #1 tool for finding a major suit fit after a 1NT opening. And that's exactly why our opponents are so eager to disrupt it.
Just remember, that 2-club bid is totally artificial. It has absolutely nothing to do with clubs. Think of it as a secret code, a question. Hey partner, got a 4-card major for me? See, finding that 8-card fit is almost always better than playing in no-trump. It's so powerful, and that's the prize we're trying to protect here.
And hey, here's a little bit of trivia for you. While we all call it Stayman, the idea was actually developed completely independently by 2 other players years before Sam Stayman ever published it in 1945. It's a classic case of history being written by the one with the best publisher.
You know, in a perfect world, the auction is just this nice, quiet conversation between you and your partner. They open 1NT, you bid 2 clubs to ask the question, they answer, and boom! You found your fit, you're on your way to a game contract. It's simple, it's clean, it's beautiful.
Yeah, this is where the game gets real. An opponent decides to stick their bid right in the middle of your conversation. Suddenly, your easy 2-club bid might be gone. So what's the play now?
This is exactly the kind of situation that separates the good partnerships from the great ones. So let's really break down why that opponent's bid is so much more than just a little annoyance. It's a deliberate move to throw a wrench in your plans to create chaos. And you know what? If you don't have a plan, it usually works. When an opponent jumps in, it sets off this whole chain reaction of problems. Right away, you're losing valuable bidding space. Your normal lines of communication are suddenly cut. The risk of you and your partner misunderstanding each other goes through the roof. And all of this can mean missing out on a game, or even worse, losing control completely and ending up in some kind of disaster contract.
I mean, the most direct problem is that they literally take away the bid you were about to make. If they bid 2 clubs, well, there goes your Stayman bid. If they jump to 2 spades, they're jamming things up even higher. They are, in effect, stealing the words right out of your mouth.
And this is the real danger. If you and your partner haven't talked about these situations beforehand, any bid you make now is pretty much a shot in the dark. Is that double for penalty? Is it for takeout? Is your new suit bid forcing, or are you just trying to compete? Guessing at the bridge table is a fantastic recipe for disaster. And this little chart just lays it out perfectly. On the left, you've got a clear, open highway straight to your best contract. But on the right, after they interfere, now you're trying to navigate this winding, dangerous road in the fog with very limited options and a huge risk of crashing.
But here's the really cool part. We don't just have to sit there and take it. Over the years, the bridge world has come up with some really powerful, established ways to adapt and take back control of the auction. It's time to fight back.
And this is the key thing to remember. You don't give up on finding your major suit fit. You just adapt. The whole solution is about having flexible agreements in place so you can handle the competition and keep that conversation with your partner going, even with an opponent yelling in the middle of it. All right, let's get into the first danger zone. Your partner opens 1 NT, but before you can even get your Stayman bid out, an opponent jumps in. The ambush happens early. So how do we fight back?
These are our primary weapons. Now notice, if they just double, a lot of the time we can just ignore them and bid our 2 clubs Stayman anyway. But look at that third line. This is the critical one. If they bid 2 clubs themselves, they've literally stolen our bid. In that very specific case, a double from us takes on a whole new artificial meaning. It becomes our Stayman question.
This right here, this is a game-changing agreement. You have to have this talk with your partner. When they steal our 2-club bid, we adapt. The double is the new Stayman. It's such a clever way to take back control of the auction, and it's an agreement you absolutely must have.
Okay, now for a more advanced tool, for when things get really chaotic. Think of the Sinex Scramble as your abort mission button. It's an artificial bid, a lot of pairs use 2 spades, that basically tells your partner, hey, our original plan is out the window, let's forget about game for a sec and just find the safest possible place to land.
Here's another really clever adaptation. What if they overcall with, say, 2 diamonds or 2 hearts? Well, a Q bid, which just means bidding the opponent's suit, becomes our new Stayman. So if they bid 2 diamonds, our bid of 3 diamonds has nothing to do with diamonds. It's a completely artificial, game-forcing question asking about the majors. Pretty cool, huh? So that's how we handle an early ambush. But what about that second scenario? You get to bid 2 clubs, everything seems fine, but then the interference comes after your bid. Now the pressure shifts completely to the 1 NT opener to sort this whole mess out. Okay, so you've bid 2 clubs and the opponent doubles, looking for a penalty. Your partner's response is simple, but it's incredibly powerful. A pass is a huge warning sign. It suggests a pretty minimum hand. But a redouble is a roar. It says, I've got a great hand, and not only are we going to compete for this contract, we might just turn the tables and penalize them. Now, when the opponent bids a suit over our Stayman, the opener's first instinct should always be simplicity. A lot of the time, you can just ignore the interference and bid your major just like you planned. But if the auction gets really crowded, you need more sophisticated tools, like a 2NT relay or a Q-bid, to describe your hand properly without getting the bidding way too high.
And that 2NT bid we just saw, that's often the start of a system called Lebensohl. The easiest way to think of it is as a speed bump in the auction. It's a way for the partnership to just slow everything down. It creates the space you need to tell the difference between a weak hand that just wants to find a safe place to stop and a stronger, invitational hand that's still interested in bidding game.
And what's so important to get here is that having these agreements isn't just a defensive plan to get you out of a jam. It's actually an offensive strategy. It gives you a massive competitive edge over pairs who just haven't bothered to have this conversation. So what's the big payoff? Well, by adapting, you make sure you and your partner can still talk to each other. You can compete effectively, you can keep control of where the auction is going, and most importantly, you maximize your chances of finding those high-scoring game contracts.
And this slide right here, this tells you exactly why we go to all this trouble. Just look at the scores. A game in a major suit simply scores more than game in a minor or no trump. And those extra 20 or 30 points, hand after hand, that's what separates a winning session from a losing one. There's a reason finding that major suit fit is our #1 goal.
So, we've got the tools, but knowing the rules is the easy part when there's no pressure. Now let's talk about the common mistakes players make when the clock is ticking and an opponent is actively trying to rattle them.
The single biggest mistake is just panic, and panic leads to guessing. Forgetting if a double is for penalty or for takeout in this situation can lead to an absolute disaster on the scorecard. The entire point of interference is to sow confusion. Your system, a solid system, is your shield against that confusion.
So how do you avoid those traps? It's really just 3 simple steps. First, stay systematic. Interference is your cue to slow down, not speed up. Second, know your tools. You have to internalize what these key bids like doubles and Q bids mean. And finally, practice. Seriously, walk through these auctions with your partner when you're not at the table, so when it happens for real, your response is just automatic. Now let's just refine the strategy a bit and talk about when to be a fighter and when it's actually smarter to retreat. Sometimes the best play is just to give up the search for that major suit fit. If the opponents have already bet up to the 3 level, trying to use a Q bet at the 4 level is just way too risky. Or if your own hand is really weak, it's much better to settle for a safe part score than risk a huge penalty. And this is critical. If you and your partner haven't discussed these situations, just pass. Seriously, don't guess. And for partnerships that want to take it to the next level, you can add even more precise methods, like something called transfer Lebensohl. Another big one is having a clear agreement on whether your normal systems, like transfers, are on or off after interference. Just deciding that one thing ahead of time prevents so much confusion at the table.
And all of this brings us to the most important part of all. I mean it, you can memorize every convention in the book, but none of it matters if you and your partner aren't on the same page. Your agreement is the foundation for everything we've talked about.
Use this as your pre-game checklist. The most important conversation you need to have is about doubles. When are they for penalty, and when are they asking a question? Then, decide if you're going to use advanced tools like Lebensohl. And just as important, define when the system is off and all your bids are just natural. A simple 10-minute conversation about this stuff will pay off in a huge way. Ultimately, this is what it all comes down to. The whole point of these systems isn't just to be complicated for the sake of it. No, it's to create clarity when you're under pressure. A strong agreement lets you tune out the opponent's noise and just focus on the only thing that really matters, finding your best contract. So, the next time an opponent tries to blow up your auction, what are you going to do? Are you going to guess and just hope for the best? Or are you and your partner going to execute a well-rehearsed plan? That right there is the difference between a good partnership and a winning one.
So let's get back to the winless cottage. Timmy knows the rule. He knows that double is his tool to keep the Stayman inquiry going, so he makes his move. But believe me, this story's far from over.
Let's take a look at the tools he has at his disposal.
And this right here is the #1 tool, the absolute key. In this very specific scenario, the double card gets a whole new meaning. It's not about punishing the opponents for their bid. No, it becomes Stayman. It's Timmy's secret way of saying to Andrew, hey, ignore that guy. Our plan is still a go. Tell me if you have a 4-card major.
And double isn't the only gadget in the toolkit. Advanced partnerships have all sorts of special bids. You'll hear names like Lebensohl or Rubensohl thrown around. Now, don't worry about the jargon. What's important is that all these fancy conventions have the same goal, to keep that conversation with your partner alive no matter how much noise the opponents are making.
Okay, let's follow the conversation here. Timmy does exactly the right thing. He doubles. That's him asking the question. Now the ball is in Andrew's court. Andrew bids 2 diamonds. And that's the coded reply that means, sorry partner, I do not have a 4-card spade or heart suit. You can just feel Timmy's heart sink into his shoes. He has both majors. His partner has neither. He's totally trapped.
So with no obvious path forward, he makes the only bid that feels safe, 3 no trump. It's a sign-off. It's basically him saying, okay, I give up. Let's just stop here.
And across the table, Marjorie, who's been quiet this whole time, she looks up and she just nails it with that one line. It's a smart bid, sure, because they'll probably make it, but it's tragic because he's abandoning the search. They might be missing out on their absolute best contract.
So why was Timmy so trapped? What was the real problem? Well, once Andrew denied having a major suit, Timmy's system didn't have a follow-up question. Their conversation hit a brick wall. He lacked that next, more advanced tool to say, okay, got it, no fit there, but let's keep looking. So his 3 no trump bid, yeah, it was a complete and total surrender.
So of course, later that night, after the cards are put away and the whiskey comes out, the real game begins. This is the post-mortem. This is my favorite part of any bridge game. It's where you analyze the hand, you talk it through, and you uncover all the hidden paths you could have taken.
And this slide really gets right to the heart of the whole lesson. On the one hand, you have what Timmy did. He heard the bad news from Andrew and just gave up, bidding 3 NT. But the expert play, it's to use another artificial bid, another coded question. For instance, bidding 2 hearts. Now this doesn't say I have hearts, it's a relay. It says, okay, partner, copy that, no major. But the conversation isn't over, let's keep talking. It's the key that unlocks the whole puzzle Bartek created.
So what's the bottom line here? What can we all learn from this? Well, first, don't panic when your opponents interfere. A good system is built to handle this. Second, Timmy was 100% right that double is Stayman in this spot. Absolutely correct. But third, and this is the big one, you have to have a plan B. You need an agreement for what to do when your partner's first answer isn't the one you want. You use those secondary relays to keep digging. Your number one job always is to find that best fit.
And that's really what it all boils down to. This whole drama wasn't about someone having bad cards. It was about a tiny, momentary breakdown in communication while under fire. You know, Bartek's interference only worked because it exposed a small gap in Timmy and Andrew's system, a question they hadn't agreed on an answer for yet. And that's the real game, isn't it? It's not about being dealt the perfect hand. It's about having a perfect, clear, and unbreakable conversation with your partner, no matter what your opponents try to throw at you.
Subscribe our channel for more videos.